Okay, so today we are going to data types and values. That is where we left off yesterday. And we are learning JavaScript as a programming language. And this is very crucial for web development, as we all know. So yesterday we left off here. So I just opened it in a different tab to make our life easier. So we will just go through this and make sure that we have a firm understanding of it. And then we'll just continue like that, right? After data types, we'll just move to functions. So just so we know it. Yeah. So, okay. And we're gonna be working in this folder. So let me create a file over here, day5.js. So day 1 to day 4, we were looking at the introduction to programming and computer code. So these are not JavaScript specific. It's cut across all languages. So today we're just going to be in day 5 of the series. Although it is day 5, but it's actually the beginning of JavaScript itself, right? We did the introduction. We are doing JavaScript right now. So if you are watching, you are at the right place. This is like day 2 of JavaScript. I just wanted to make that clear. So there is something called primitive data types. And in JavaScript, we have 6 primitive data types. And we already know that coding, you always have to think about a data type. The data type is what dictates what you do. So this tutorial over here is going to cover all the data types in JavaScript. So whenever you need to solve any problem, you have to think within the context of the data types that we are about to see. So the primitive ones, they are the easiest data types, right? Number, string, boolean, null, undefined, and symbol. So what we did yesterday, we looked at variables. So over there too, we saw these data types. For variables, they store data, right? So you want to know the type of data. That's what we saw some of this yesterday. So just see, is this a lot to remember, the primitive data types? It looks like they are very easy to remember, right? Number, string, boolean. The others are not that important if you think about it, because see, these are the most important primitive data types, because you are either dealing with a number or you are dealing with a string, just name of a person, a country, or you are dealing with boolean, which is true or false values. The other 6, they are not exactly numbers, right? Null means non-value or empty value. So like if you create a variable and you don't assign any data, then there is no value. We don't know the type of the data because you didn't assign any data. So like null means that no non-value. It's like you're not assigning anything. And then undefined also means a value that has not been defined. These are very tricky. The value itself has not been defined. In other words, the value is not a number, it's not a string, it's not a boolean, and it's not null. So then it's going to be undefined. If you have any value, any data, value and data are the same. And then the type of the data or value is not defined. In other words, it's not a number, it's not a string, it's not a boolean, it's not a null, then it's going to be undefined. It's crazy. And then the symbol is one of the latest primitive data types that came up. And we're going to know more about it later on when it's necessary. Okay, so let's look at the examples. We've seen some of these before, which is awesome. So it will make our job easy. So today we are working from here. Let's just create a boilerplate sorry. I'll hit tab. Oh, this and then hit tab. Oh, see, the problem is I should make this an HTML file, but that's how we want to write the code. So, and then that. Okay. Want to put our JavaScript into the HTML. So we need a script tag over here. And within the script tag, we can put the code that we just copied from the site. It's very, this is something we've seen before. If there is anything you don't understand, please let it out. What I'm doing right now, I'm just indenting the code, adding spaces so that the code will be easy to read. That's all. So is this thing clear to us? You can see a variable called number, you put a number to it, a variable called a string. So you are just assigning a string to it. These concepts are very easy, but they are so important. So Boolean, you are assigning true. Null means, almost like it's null. It's a type of data. So the data itself is the null. That's the way it is. So the way number is data, and so the data itself is null. And then, yeah, so this is the symbol. This is how they use the symbol also. So you can just call symbol itself and just put something in there. So my symbol. So this is gonna be stored in here. I guess it's almost like a character or something like that. I don't think it's very, very useful at all. Okay, so this is pretty clear to us. If I execute this code, is anything going to happen? If I execute this code, is it going to print anything in the console?
Yes.
What is it going to print?
The number, hello world.
Okay, let's see. Like, why would you expect it to print anything? Because you're not printing anything, right?
But it wouldn't show up in the console. No.
See, are we printing anything here?
Oh no, because it has to say console.
Yes.
Read.
But what are we doing here? We are just creating variables, right? And are we doing anything with the variables? No.
No.
Yes. So it won't print anything because of that. So now let's continue. There is something called the type of operator. Type of. So if you want to know the type of the variable. So let me show you how to use the type of operator. It's very, very nice. I can just type it, type of. If you like right now, we know that this is a number, right? But what if you don't know? You can just use type of and do this. What it is going to do is going to tell you the type of data that is stored in the variable. Okay. But if you're not sure, you can always do that. You don't even need to print it. I think, let's see if we have to print it. It's probably going to print it for us also. If it doesn't print it, we know what to do. We can do console.log. I'll mention something too. So it's not printing, so we have to print it ourselves. So we have to say, so this is a method. We didn't define it. It's also like a function. If I say method, it's the same as a function. So some of them, they're gonna return something to you and you have to print it. You can decide what to do with it. Like this is if it's gonna check the type of this variable and then give it to you. So you can say var type. If you do this, whatever that this thing gives you, you are taking it and then you are storing it over here. We're gonna learn that later on. So let me not confuse you. Again, I said we're gonna stick to the notes. So I'm just gonna print this This is all I have to do. Type of that. And then if you refresh your screen, you see number. See number? So this is a very important operator, or say method. So let's do one more thing. Check the type of string. Type of string over here. And that's a string, right? My string, sorry. So because we just store string in there, so it makes the variable a string. Do we understand this one? If I check,
Yes.
yeah. So now there is one more exercise. Thank
I have a
you.
question.
Sure.
The you said the type of lets you know what the type of data is in the
Variable.
variable. So
Mhm.
why do you have to add that in the console log again?
So the console log allows you to see what the result is. So if I do this like this, it's gonna it will let me know the type of data that is stored in the variable. But there is no way I'm going to know it unless I print it. If I don't print it, I won't know it. Because see, if you do the console.log, you are saying whatever this answer is, put it in the console for me to see it. So if you don't print it, now I don't know, let me give you a best example.
Like I don't know.
Sorry, come again, come on, go on.
Oh, I was saying I get that's how you see it on the screen, right?
Yeah, that's how you see the data itself, yes, on the screen.
Okay, got it.
And do you know why you need to do that?
Do
So,
what?
like the reason why we need to see the data ourselves, like if I give you a purse, and then there is money inside it. The money is there, but you need to bring it out so you can see it. Like
Yeah.
if you don't bring it out, you know the money is in there, but you can't see it unless you bring it out. So over here, the number that we are dealing with data, and the data is there because we put it there. But sometimes you want to make sure that it is there. And the only way you can do that is to just print it so that you can see it.
Okay, got it. And console log, right? That's a function.
Yes, it is a function too.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yes, it's a function that we didn't write. And what it does is whatever you give it to it is going to print it to the console. The value
Gotcha.
of the thing. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, good, very good questions. And when you're fixing code, you're always going to be printing things because you want to see what data is coming there. And then if the data is not good, you see the data and it's not good, then you're going to fix it. But if you don't see it, there is no way you can fix it. And also, say there's money in the wallet. You want to know how much it is. The only way to know how much the money is, you need to bring it out and count it, right? So you bring it out, you count it, and it's small, then you know you have to add something to it. If it is too much, you know you should take something out. But you need to see it first to know what it is. Yeah, so right now when we console.log, we saw the number. What if we don't want to put a number here? Oh, I don't want this to be a number, but it's a number. So you have to go here and change it to whatever you want it to be, Yes, so that's the point. So one more, another important exercise that people do, and it's gonna establish a point. See, I'm just copying the code and bringing here because, I could type it, but I don't see any point wasting our time. Okay. this will demonstrate an important property of JavaScript. So the see, the code is not properly indented. Let me just do it this way now. Okay. 1 second, please. It's not properly indented. Okay. So now, I'm just putting spaces there so we can have clarity. Okay. So here what am I doing? I am creating a variable, right? Am I putting anything in here? No. So if I check the type of, let's just do console.log so we see it ourselves. So see right now, I want to know the type of this variable. How do I know? I need to print it to know it. Because if I know, maybe I studied, so I know for sure that this one has to be undefined. But what if I don't know? The computer will tell me if I print it, you know. So you can use the computer like a calculator, you know, because it can do work for you. It's there to do work for you. So many things, you just ask it and it will help. It will do it for you instead of, you know, brainstorming yourself. Because it's a tool that we are learning how to use, you know. You ask it the right questions and it will give you the answers. So we are trying to assign a string over here, but they don't want you to use double quotation marks. That's why there is an error over there. Okay, so, and I'm gonna remove this prints out here, but we already saw that. Okay, let me execute this code. Okay, let's go through it first. What am I doing? See, this is the same variable, and I'm checking. I just declared the variable, and I'm checking the type. Here, what am I doing? I'm assigning a string to the variable, the same variable, and I'm checking the type. I'm assigning a number to the same variable, and I'm checking the type. I'm assigning a boolean to the same variable, and I'm checking the type. I'm assigning now data to the same variable, and I'm checking the type. And so why is this a different? This, I think, here too, I want to use the same variable so that things will make more sense.
I'm sorry, what is object weird bug?
Oh yeah, this is a bug, and I'll show you when we print it. And let me see, when I assign a number to this and I check the type, is it not going to give me a number?
Yes.
When I assign a string to this and I check the type, it's going to give me a string, right? So if you assign a boolean, it's going to give you boolean. But if you assign a null, it is supposed to give you null, but it's going to give you object, which is a bug. It's not supposed to give you an object, because this is not an object. We're going to know what an object is pretty soon, because this is an object also. But null is a data type, so it should give you a null. When JavaScript was first created, they made this mistake. And they don't want to fix the mistake, because if they do, a lot of code on the internet is going to break. Because the people, when they were writing the code, if you check the type of null, you're going to get an object. So that is how they used it in their code. You see what we are doing sometimes in an if statement, you can use this to check some conditions and all of that. So thousands of code have been written using this thinking, but it's a weird bug, but they can't fix it because if they do, a lot of things will break. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. So now let's just print this and see what we get. We want to go into the, sorry, go to the console here. You see? So the first one here, don't worry about this one because we are doing nothing with it. So it's printing undefined, undefined. So undefined because if you, what is the value of this? It's not a number, it's not a string, it's nothing because you didn't assign anything here. And so it's none of the primitive types. So it's gonna say undefined. So this is a string, it's gonna give us a string number. You see, everything is happening. And then if you get to this place, the null, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is giving you object. And that is what is a bug in JavaScript I just talked about. And then you undefined is going to give you undefined. This is an object, and it's going to give you an object. So one more question. Is it a little surprising to you that the same variable can store all these different types of numbers? All these different types of values, sorry, not numbers. Does it surprise you? Because in other languages, you cannot do this. In C#, C++, most other languages, if this variable, you have to tell us what data it is going to store. So you have to only put that data there. Like if I say this is going to store a number, I can only put a number in it. I cannot put anything else in there. So many languages are like that. But in JavaScript, you can see the variable can store any type of data. So, and the reason is that this is weird, but it's interesting. But it's only this, maybe JavaScript is probably the only language with this feature. In JavaScript, the variable is just a container. It's a storage location. You can put anything you want over there. So whatever you put there, then the question is, what did I put in the container? Then you're gonna say, oh, I put a number, I put a string, I put a boolean, I put a null. So the types, we talk about the type of the data, not the type of the variable. Or you say the type of the values, not type of the variable. But the variable is just a container, it can store any data. But the question is, what data did the container store? Then you say, oh, number, string, that. Okay? So when I say type of variable here, what am I saying? I'm not really asking for the type of the variable itself, which is the location. I'm asking for the type of data that is put in the variable. So these little details are important, but when you're writing code, you probably don't, I don't know if this knowledge will help you in any way, but I have to mention it because we are learning JavaScript. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay.
Oh,
So yeah,
sorry.
you okay, Tina?
Yeah, just so if you want to pull up a value later on, but there's all these different values for the same variable.
Mm-hmm.
How do you just call it the value itself instead of the variable? Because
Yeah,
variable stands for so many different things.
that's a very, very good question. Very, very good question. And let me also throw it back to, I want to throw it to Afanawa first, and then I will also say more to it. So, okay, Afanawa, did you understand the question?
Yes, I think so.
So you are assigning the many values here, right? So if you want to read if you want to assess the variable, what are you assessing? Which of these data are you reading? That's what she's saying. So do you know, can you answer that? Or if you can just say no and I will help.
No, I was just thinking about it. So she's
Mhm.
talking about calling the values if the variable is the same.
Yes, you have the same variable here, you see? And
Mhm.
you have assigned different values to it. So if you want to read the values, what do? Do you say my variable dot and then get some special value that you assigned, or how do you read the data?
So wouldn't all of them just show up because they're all the same?
Okay, thank you for the answer. Let's see if that happens. Then I can also explain. So the way to do it is simple. See, I'm just printing, I'm doing console.log my variable. So let's see what is going to be in my variable, right? It's a storage location. We've put a lot of things in there. It looks like, but that's not what we did. But we think that we put a lot of things in it. So let's see what is in there. If we put a lot in there, we should see a lot of things coming out, right? So let's see what's in there. And I will try to make a point. So whenever there is doubt, you always have to just print and see. So this is the one, you see. We are already printing a lot of things here, but the last one here is going to be the last, or the last one here. What came out? Object, Happy reading. This is what came out, this one. But the question is, where are all the other things that we put there? They are not there anymore. You know why? They are not supposed to be there. And that's the way coding works, right? The computer is going to begin at the top here, right? It will create this variable, and then it will keep going. It will keep going. Then when it gets here, you are saying, oh, put hello world in there, right? So it will put hello world over there. Then it's going to keep going. When it gets here, you are saying, put 50 there. So what you're doing here is, whatever that is there before, delete it. We don't want hello world. Now we want to put 50 there. See, so when you do this, you are changing the content of the variable and you're putting something completely new over there.
Oh, got it.
Yes.
Okay, makes sense.
Right. And then once you get here, you're doing the same thing. You're saying, whatever that I have in my variable, I don't want it anymore. Put this there. So there is a way for you to put different things like this in one location, in one variable. And that is what we call collection. So these ones are single values, right? They are all single values. So you just delete everything that's there and then you add it. But what if you want to store many things, many different type of data in one place, right? There's a way to do that, and that's where we are going next. That is the object. There are two ways to do it: object and then arrays. And we know the importance of data types. Very, very important. What we saw is the primitive ones, and then the next two data types that are left for us to consider so that we can be able to store anything that we want is the object and then the arrays. Once we understand arrays and objects, then we are done with data types in JavaScript. And what that means is that any concept that you want to create, you will be able to represent it in data form. And you will see. So these are very important data types, these two. If you want to solve industry problems, mostly these are the data types that you're going to use. And what is an object? Object is used to store collections of data. So the key term is the collection. Collection means that you have different things. You have many, many things that you want to store at one place. So let me say that again. This is just one number, right? This number could be anything. What if this is the age of people in a family. So you can say the age of people in my family. So one of them could be 50 years old, another person could be 60, another person could be 20. But you cannot just use 50 and you are done. No, you need the ages of everybody in the family, right? So then you have a collection of data. You're gonna have, say, 60, somebody is 60 in your family, somebody is, say, 30, somebody is, say, 20. So now you have a collection of data. You don't just have one data. So that's what I mean by collection, a collection of data. So how do you store this kind of data? So we use objects to do it. And if you want to see the way we are here, we created a variable like this, and then we assign just one value to it. Now we want to be able to create one variable and then be able to assign multiple values, collection of values to it. So that's what we are about to look at. The object is what gives you that power. And a lot of the things we are going to do, we're going to be using objects. Not just objects, arrays also. And you'll see the difference very soon. So this is a typical object. This is an example of an object. And I'll just show you how it works. So if you want to create an object in JavaScript, let me just type it because maybe it will help us. If you want to create an object, you have a variable. You always have a variable. So if you want to create, you can use any name you want. Let me call it my object. It's equal to. Now look, if you have, instead of one number, you have a collection of numbers. So they want you to use a block. But once you have a block, then you can list things in there. You can say 40, 50, 60. You see, there is a problem here because this is not what it wants. That's not how you do it. You need to, there is something called key and values, key value pairs. So let's just stick to the example that I gave, ages of people in my family. So if I write 50, whose age is 50? I don't know whose age is 50. So I have to tell the computer that, say, Evans, you say Evans, and then you put a semicolon and say 50. What this means is that Evans's age is 50. Then now you can comfortably put a comma. Just list all the people in your family. Say Biden. What is Biden's age? Say 65. Now, what are the other people in my family? Trump. And then I'll say 75. You see? So this is an object. And again, normally, what is this object storing? It is storing the ages of people in my family. So normally you can give the name give proper name, say ages of people in my family. See, when the name is getting long, don't worry about it because this is good. Anybody who reads this variable name, they're gonna instantly understand what is in it. What is in it. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is an object. You can see it's just one variable, but it's able to store a collection of things. Now, in programming, the skill that you need the most is this one. Your ability to access a particular data that you want. Because everything is the data types, but how do I access the data? Because right now, if I want to change, if you want to change the age of Evans, you don't have to go up here and change it. You can be able to change it in the code. But before you can change it, you need to be able to access it first. So the way you do it, this is exactly Tina's question. Now you see, you can say, you mention the name of the variable, and then you put a dot. Once you put a dot, now all the keys are coming up, the keys. So you can select Evans. Once you have this one, you have the age of Evans. So you can say ages of people in my family dot Evans is going to give you the age of Evans. And if you want to print it and see it, right now there is no way you can see that it is giving the age of Evans. The only way you can see that is by printing it. So that's why we do the console.log. If you do console.log, you are expecting to see what? You are expecting to see the number 50 there. So when you do console.log and it's showing you something else, so that means that you made a mistake and then you check your code. So that is the reason why we keep printing all the time. You want to print and see what you're doing. And depending on the IDE that you're using, you don't have to print. You can just put a breakpoint, and then once you put your cursor on it, it will tell you the data also. But we're gonna get there. We're gonna do all those things. So right now, see, it's printing 50. Do you guys see how the object works? It's very, very important. Object, this is the industry level coding that we're gonna have to use objects to do that. And it's just, this is how you do it. You're grouping data together. And so right now, let me say the ages of people in my family dot Trump. So what is gonna print here?
75.
75, yes. So now, this means that we are able to access the age of Trump. So right here, if I want to change the age of Trump, I just have to say this equals 100. You can put semicolon. You can choose not to put it. It's all up to you, but it's a good practice to put it. So let's just put it there. Now, if I print this, what is it going to give me as the age of Trump? 100.
Good.
100. Because this one allows you to access that value and then you can change it. We're going to learn objects later on, you see. So this is what we call object, collection of data. You put multiple data into one thing. And this is important because it's so important. If you want to build an industry level project, you can say, I want to create a variable to store data about a person. So sorry, let me just type. This looks ugly sometimes. So let's say you can say var person. You create a variable to store information about a person. There are many properties of a person that you want to store. You don't just want to store the weight of the person or the sex or whether they are a student or something. So you can put that in an object and say name. So everybody has a name. So once you have the name, you can just give it whatever name you want, say John. I'm just using the example here. So what else can a person have? What other properties do people have? Age. People have ages. So you can say, well, John's age is, say, 35. And you can say, is John a student or not? Because many people are in school. So you can create, these properties are also like little variables that you're creating. It's a student. So you can say, what value do you think this is going to store? It's a student. You pick a person and you ask, is this person a student or not? What answer would you give? Yes or no, right?
Boolean, right?
Boolean.
Boolean. So let me say false. Yep. That's how you do it. Always ask the question and then look at the answer that you can give. Then what else can we put here? Has a car? Has
Yes.
a car. You can say true. There are many things you can put here. So country of origin, country, and you can say USA. But USA, what type of data is USA? Is it a number?
String.
String.
Awesome. So you have to put USA like this. What else can we put here? Marital status, income. So let's say income. Income, you can say yearly income, monthly income, whatever you want. So let's just say income. Income. What do we put here? Money, right? say 100,000. So money is just a number, so we don't need to just that. So this is enough. Now, if you want to print this person, you can just use console.log. And we can use this in so many different ways in the code, but for now, we are just printing it. If I just print a person, all of this will go in the console. All of this will go in the console, which is okay. Let's do it. All of that will come in the console. The whole person would come. And you see, they always give you the type of the variable first, which is an object, right? So the object is here, and then all the properties of the object is inside it. If you click this, it's easier for you to see it better. You can see age, country, has a car, blah, blah, blah. So the age is 35. What is the name? I don't see the name here. Where is the name? Oh, the name is at the bottom here, John, right? So this is printing all the information about John, right? So what if you don't want to get all the information about John, you just want to see his income, then you can say John.income. So like you can do a lot of things with these objects, right? Right. And then his income is at the bottom. The 100 is coming from here. And so let's say you need to create people. You need, say, you have a job, you want to hire people for your company or something. You can say person 1, and then enter all the information about the person 1. Then you can say person 2, and then the person 2 would have a different name, say Alice. And then you just keep changing the information. And then once you say person 2.income, it's gonna come here. If you say person 1 dot that, so the name of the variable is the key over here. So I see that we all get the point. There is a whole section that is dedicated to objects in JavaScript. We're gonna take a closer look at objects and see how to use them. Because they are very powerful, you can see, right? It's just one variable and it has all these properties that they go along with it, right? Okay, so do you have any questions, or we can look at arrays right now?
We can look at arrays.
Okay. So now arrays are also objects, but they are very special type of objects. And 1 second, please, friends. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Okay, thank you, guys. Thank you, man, for sticking around. So now this is an object, and I'm saying that objects are very similar to arrays. The only difference is this. I'm gonna turn this into an array, and I'll do it down here. If you want this one to be an array, instead of this curly brackets, use is it parentheses? Sometimes the names of this can be confusing. You don't use curly brackets, you use that. So that's the first thing. Now the second thing is, these are key value pairs, right? Like I said. So this is a key and this is the value, key value. So in arrays, you don't have to enter the keys. The keys are given to you by default. They start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. So this is the way the array is going to look like. So if you say person.0, it's going to give you Alice. Person.1 is going to give you that. But this is not how you write it, right? This is the way it is. But because this index is, the number begins from 0, 1, 2, 3. So the computer already knows it. it doesn't need you to tell it because it knows that if this is an array and this parenthesis is what gives it away, then don't give me the keys. I already know what the keys are going to be. So just remove the keys. You are seeing the error because I have the keys over there. So let's do this. Now you can see that the computer is happy now because it knows the value, the keys are already there, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So tomorrow, if you go and say person.person2, now when we are accessing the arrays, we don't use the dot anymore. We just say you use this brackets, parentheses, and then put 0 there. If you do this, it's going to return the first element in the array, which is the element with the key of 0. So this is like the key. If you want this one, you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So actually in computer science, the count begins from 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have to put 5 over here. And that's gonna give you this. So also arrays, we don't like to write them this way, but they are very difficult to read if you write it this way. We just put them on the same line. So I'm just trying to show you how arrays are very similar to objects. They are just special types of objects. So normally, I mean, you could do it the way we did it, but it is recommended to just write it on the same line like this, because it's easier to read this way. You can see. So instead of saying person2 here, you just can give the name of the person, John. And also, right now, if you look at this data, it is very difficult for you to tell what they mean. Like this USA, what does USA mean? You don't know whether it is the country that John belongs to, or you don't know what it is. If you look at this number, you don't know whether it is John's income or you don't know what it is. So normally when you're using arrays, it's nice to use it to store the same type of data, like data that have the same properties, the same behavior. Let me give you an example. If I say it, it sounds different. You can create a variable to store fruits. Because this is gonna store fruits, anything you put in here is gonna be a fruit, you know? Even though it doesn't have to be, you can put orange, You can put, what are the fruits are there? You can put a pear. You can put, what else? What are the fruits?
Banana.
Banana, yes, banana, thank you. And let's add one more.
Watermelon.
Watermelon, yeah, thank you, watermelon. So now, if you store your array this way, doesn't it make more sense? You can see that everything in here is a fruit. So then you don't need to say, there is no need for you to give the keys because it doesn't make any sense to repeat yourself. They are just the same things in there. Otherwise, your keys are going to be, say, fruit. It doesn't make sense. So in that case, just give it the name should tell us what the array is going to store, the data that the array is going to store. So now in this case, if you just want to access the first value here, how would you do it? If you want to access the first value, it's the same way, right? Just do it through the name of the variable. Because it is an array, now you can just say, give me the first value there. Right? And you can print it out. Say console.log. Console.log. And let's go into the browser. What do you think is gonna be there?
Orange, pear, banana, watermelon.
You think though,
Orange.
why watermelon? See, I'm printing the first element in the fruits array. Or you can say the first data or the first value.
What is that, 0?
You think is this one?
No, I was saying it will say all of them. Orange, pear, banana. Is
Oh,
that 0?
yeah, this is 0, yes.
Oh,
This is 0. Let me put 2 here.
oh, pear.
2 is gonna print pear? No. Come again.
2.
2 prints banana. What the wrong?
Why banana?
Because it starts from 0. 0 is the orange.
Yes, so the count
There's
always,
1.
yes. The count always begins from 0. 0, 1, 2.
Oh, okay.
0, 1, 2, 3. So if I put 3 here, it's gonna print that. But of course, if I put 4, it's gonna be a problem because there is no 4 in there. There is nothing stored at index 4. So those numbers, we call them index. Index 0, index 1, index like that. So let's see what happens if this will give us an error or maybe undefined. So let's refresh that and go to the console. So we can forget about the first 2 numbers because they are coming from the other print statements. So fruit at 2 is banana. I'm still printing the same thing again. So, but at 3 is watermelon, and at 4 is undefined. In other words, at the index number 4, there is no value there. There's no data over there. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Can you all give me, each of you give me one example of an array, an example that makes sense in an array?
Seasons.
I'm sorry?
Seasons.
Okay, students. Yes, that's awesome.
This is seasons.
Oh, seasons. Okay. Seasons. Okay. Yes. Perfect. You see, it's a perfect example to use that. So what should be here?
Fall, spring, summer,
Okay. Fall,
winter.
summer. Oh, sorry. Hey, summer and then winter. Yep. So now, if you are enjoying your life and you want to see what season number 3 is, you just do this. The same approach. You write the data and then you learn how to assess the value. After you assess the value, you can change it also, but we're gonna get to that when we get to arrays. Because I have a whole section dedicated to arrays also, because they are very important. So it's working.
So
Mhm.
in this situation, you don't do seasons dot spring.
No, you don't do it because it's an array, and the array already put some keys for you, 0, 1, 2, 3. So just use the zeros, the indexes to assess the values. That is the difference between the array and the object. Object, you have to use the dot, but for arrays, you don't need it. You can't use the dot, actually.
And array is set up horizontally.
Yes.
And
Object is vertical.
And array has brackets.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And you can see the best usage of the array, as you can see, you want to group all fruits together, all seasons. But now look at the object. it's not just simple fruits. It's like a person, and the person has different properties, you see? So the way you're using it, you can see the object is very deep. And array is pretty straightforward, but it's also deep also, but it's kind of straightforward in a way. Because like if you just convert this object into an array, then you're gonna lose some information. Because you have 35 here. What is the 35? I don't know what it is, right? If you just convert the object to array, you are losing information. You're losing the fact that this 35 is the age of John. This true over here, we don't know what it is. You're losing the information that it means that John has a car. You see? But if you just use the array to store objects of the same kind, like a set in computer science, I mean in math. But you don't have to, you can still add other things here. You are allowed to do whatever you want. You can mix things up, but it's gonna confuse your program. No, the program is gonna be okay, but when somebody's reading the code, they're gonna be confused. Because then, what is this array? What is it? But if they see only fruits in there, then they know that, oh, this is an array of fruits. Array, you can also call it a list in this case. In some languages, lists and arrays are different, but in JavaScript, they are the same. They are the same, yeah. Even in Python also, I think, yeah. Okay. Can we go forward?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Now, let's see. So that finishes all the data types, but there's functions also. And functions, they are very special, okay? Functions, you can also think of them as data type in a way. And that is the point that they are making here. Remember the importance of data types in coding. See, computer science is broken down into two. Coding is broken down into two. Data types and then algorithm. Data types means that everything about the data that you're dealing with, everything about it. And then the other half of it is your logic, the thinking, the way you write the code. Okay, so data types are very crucial. If you have a firm understanding of data types, it will go a long way, long way. So now, the last piece of data type is functions. Who would have thought that functions are data? You can think of function as a data type. Like it's crazy, right? But in JavaScript, it looks like you can think of functions as data types. And the reason is this. Let's consider this function over here. The reason is this. Let me just put it down here. We're gonna learn functions again as we keep going down the list, so that's good. Don't worry too much. Do we know what this function is doing?
The adding?
What is the adding? It's adding two numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I always look at the name, you see add numbers. If we had given it a name that doesn't make sense, then it's hard for you to know. You have to look at the code to tell what it does. But if you give a name that makes sense, then somebody can just look at the name of the function and then know what it does also. So now, the way this function is, if you give it two numbers, it's going to add the two numbers and then give you the sum of the numbers back. So can you see that it's giving you data of some form? Because it will sum, like, let's see what we are doing here. We just gave it two numbers. It's going to sum them and get 15. See, this return is a special word. Let me show you one thing. I know we are going to learn functions, but I just want to show you something. You can have another function. You see, as soon as I change the name, we are good. It's summing two numbers, but it will not give you the sum. It's going to print the sum. Console.log, the sum. So this code is more simplified and I like it. But for me, I want to prioritize readability of the code. So I want to create a new variable and call it result. Result of what? Of the sum of the two numbers. And then now let me print the result. I think this is more readable for us. We all can see what this code is doing, right? This function, you give it two numbers, it's going to sum them. Whatever it gets, it's going to put it into another variable result, and then it's going to print result. Now, you can see this function. If I call this function, sorry. If I call this function like this, I'm calling the second one. So I'm adding one there. See, forget about this because it's doing nothing. Let me even comment it out. First of all, I'm not calling this function, so it's not gonna work. Nothing is gonna happen to it. But this one, I'm calling it and I'm giving it 5 and 10. And oh, sorry guys. Also, let me remove this print so that we don't confuse ourselves. Let's remove the print. Now, if I go into the console, it's giving me the sum. So there is one more console.log here. Sorry. You see, it's printing the sum here. It's printing it. But you can have another one, this one here. This is not printing anything. It's just returning the sum to you. So this is doing this. Instead of printing, let me just create number 3. Number 3 is going to be exactly the same as number 1, but I want the result here. Just say return result, return. So the return is a keyword, right? That we just have to know how it works. And of course, we'll see it when we get to functions. See this one, it's not printing anything, it's just returning the results. So, and what it is doing, it's gonna return the result to you, and then you're gonna do whatever you want to do with it, right? You may want to do something else with it. So because it is returning the result to you, you need to receive it. You need to receive it with your hands. But your hands, you need to put it in a variable, right? So you need a different place to take what this function is going to give you. So now this is going to be function number 2. It's not going to print the sum. It will give it to you. It's going to give you the 15. And then you say, okay, thank you for giving me the 15. Now I want to put it in this location. Okay. So now you can choose to print it. You can choose to do whatever you want with it. So for now, let me just print it. Console.log results. So now if I do this, of course, if I remove this, nothing is going to print. Where is the print coming from? Add number 2. Okay, so this one, I'm still calling this one. See, I'm still calling this. That's why it's printing this. So let me comment it out. So now, see, it's not printing anything, but the number is in here. So if I want to print it, I can choose to print it. Now it's gonna print. But now you can do a lot of things with it. You can say, you can create another variable and say main result and say equals result plus 2 times result. You can just make an expression, right? But they all have meanings. It depends on what you're doing, right? So main result, and then now we can print the main result. All I'm saying is that you have the flexibility. If they say it will sum these numbers and give it to you, then you are saying, whatever that I got, let me add it to 2 times whatever that I got. So we're gonna get 15. 15 by 2 is 30. 30 plus 15 is 45. So now this will print 45. And you're doing this one because of the logic of whatever you are trying to do, right? You know, we are building software. Sometimes you are doing some manipulation. You can get a student's cost of tuition for the semester, and then that's the cost of tuition, but there are other things that they pay. So you have the cost of tuition in your hands. Now you look for other things that they pay, and then you add all of them up, and that's going to be the total bill for the student. So coding is just like that. You are solving real life problems just, you know, by writing code to do it, you know. And with all these little things we are teaching you, once they come together, you're going to see there's a complicated software, and it's doing these little things at the back. And that's what makes it a software. Okay. So the point is that you can see this function is giving you a number. So when you have a number, it's not data. It doesn't have to give a number. It could give any type. It could give you a string. It could give you anything. And it's not every function that returns a value. Some of them will not return anything. But at the end of the day, this function is going to evaluate to something. So in JavaScript, you can think of this as a data type also in a way. Okay, that's all the points I want to make. So now when we talk about data types in JavaScript, we know the primitive ones, but we also know the advanced data types that are very, very useful to solve industry problems. This is all that there is. There is no other data type out there that I haven't mentioned. Okay. Okay. Any questions?
No.
Okay, so we are done with data types, and the notes is here. You can read it. I mean, there's one beautiful project that we can do right now, but I believe it will be better for us to actually finish with arrays and functions and all of that before we start doing the project. So I'll just continue to the next lesson over here. Since we still have some time. Okay. Well, let me just mention this. You can see this array has all these things in there. You can still put another array in the array. You can have array of arrays. So the first value of this array can be an array also. This is when things are getting complicated. You see this array has arrays inside it, and then like that. So when we get to arrays, we'll see, but the concept is the same. So the first array, at position 0, the data you have there is an array. And then you can go into that array and also iterate. Of course, I can quickly show that. So here you can say fruits at position 0 is gonna bring this array. And then you have to say, you can put another position 0 again, which means that you are getting the first position of the array that is at the first position of the fruits, like that. So we're gonna learn this when we get there. So this is not the place. So invoking functions. So here we are gonna pay close attention to functions, objects, and arrays in this section. And if I say invoking a function, what do you think it means? To invoke something, invoke a function. Invoke the function. It is the same as what? Calling the function. Right? So to invoke a function means call the function. You can see, like we said before, this function here is going to do nothing unless you call it. Right? You just put a function there, but if you don't call it, it's not going to do anything. So when you are calling the function, you are saying I'm invoking the function. Invoke a function. Is that understood?
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you. This is a simple example here. We just invoked it. We just went through exactly this process. And if you print it, it's going to be 15. Okay. So now let's go to the next. So when you have a function, you also think of something called parameters and return values. So what is a parameter of a function? So we are really looking at functions right now. What is a parameter of a function? Let's consider this function here. What is the parameter of this function?
Is it the number 1, number 2?
Yes, number 1, number 2. We call them parameters of the function. Any other name that we can give to it? Is there any other name that you guys remember?
Value.
Yeah, you can call it value, but in the context of a number, I mean, in the context of a function, there is a real name for it. It's a parameter of the function. We don't say values of the function.
Variable.
Variables of the function also doesn't work. So these are just keywords. If in any case, the name of the function is what you may be able to call as a variable, because it's the name of the function, right? But it's not a variable. This is the other word is arguments. Arguments. The arguments of the function, parameters of the function. Any other thing that I can think of? Params. So parameters, params. Yeah, I say params. So I mean, parameter is kind of like English, right? If you have a function, the parameters of the function. So here we just want to know the term. Now, what about return values? Return values. That means functions can return something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we discussed that a few minutes ago that it gives you something back. We call it return, the return value for the function. If the function doesn't give you anything, we say that it returns void. Void means it doesn't return anything. But in JavaScript, we don't need to, sorry.
Would you also say null in that case?
Yes, in this case, it will be null. Yes. Yes. And if this code was C#, you have to tell us what data the function is going to return. So in this case, it's going to return a number. So in C#, you would have to put a number here. But number is not a data type in C#, because C#, they know that there are different types of numbers. You can have integers, you can have decimal, you can have double, float. So in C#, you have to tell us exactly what number it is in C#. You don't just say number, you have to tell us what number it is, because there are different types of numbers. But in JavaScript, you don't need to worry about what type of number. Any number is a number. And your function, you don't have to tell us what is going to return. So you see how JavaScript is becoming easier to code. So this makes it pretty easier to code. But when in coding, if you have a lot of freedom, it can be a very, very bad thing. But freedom leads to abuse. So when they restrict you, it's always better in coding because it prevents a lot of errors, right? So it's one of the things that I have to mention. So now, with that being said, this concept is also done. Now we are going to look at objects in JavaScript. So I don't know why I still have this here. I probably want to remove it because it's a very simple tutorial. I think the most comprehensive one is this one, but it's okay. Let's go through this. So objects are a fundamental data type that allow you to group related data and behavior into a single entity. We talked about it, collection of data, related data. They're all a person, name, whatever, group all of them, and that's an object. So this is a person object. We already saw this example. So the name of the variable, the key values, A person can have an address. So I like this example. So let's look at it. So in the case of the arrays, I said that you can have an array inside an array. Objects also, you can have an object inside an object. So let's just modify the ones that we have here. So this is a person, it has a name, blah, 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 but it has an address also. So if you want to know person one's address, we can just give it a value here, address, and then now the address is also going to have, it's an object. And that's the point I want to show you. So sometimes when you are happily making changes, you miss something complicated. But you don't have to run away when you see that, right? Because you just have to understand it. If you don't understand something, then you are scared of it. So look at what we are doing. The person one, the name, age, blah, blah, blah. And then the address. So address, you can say, what is the street of the address? So you just give us the street. And then you say, what is the city of the address? So of course you can enter this on one line also, but if you want to give us more information, then this is better. You could have easily said address. Let me say address one, but they may have multiple addresses. Then you can put 6 Gosway Street, apartment 2, New York. You could, what is the problem with this? I have to make it a string, right? That's the only way it's going to make sense. Because I'm actually mixing letters and numbers together. You need to put it as a string and then you're good. So this is also good. We could have entered the first address this way. But if somebody asks you, what is the city or the state of the first address, and not everybody will know that they have to read NY. Not everybody would know that. But if you give it to us this way, then I don't have to guess anything. I just have to go to .state. So in this case, I mean, what that is important is being able to access it. You just say person dot, I want to access address 2. So address 2. Now, what do I want to access in here? I want to access the state. So now you can also add the state. And you see the code is very good. As soon as you put a dot, it shows you all the things that you can have. And so now if I print this one, it's gonna print California. See it. You see? But the most important point is that the address is also an object.
I think you're missing an A. Right?
I'm missing an A.
32 address.
Line 32. Here?
No, address. Person with that.
Address.
32, line 32.
This is line 32?
Yeah.
Oh, so, okay, so this is the problem. If we were using some IDEs, they're gonna warn you that you've made a mistake. But this one, it's not gonna warn you. It's when you execute the code that is gonna warn you. Okay, thank you. Yep. Do we understand this one? So it's not something to be scared about. You just keep grouping things as you go. And all of this is assigned to one variable called object, one object. Okay, now let's move on to the next topic, which is the objects. You see how things are going pretty fast? And this is a very comprehensive tutorial on objects. After we go through this tutorial, then we won't be scared of objects at all. And can you guys see the way some of the concepts are repeating themselves?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
And yes, we don't have, I don't think we have a lot of choices because they just cut across, you know. We are seeing the same things in different way, right? So like here, I want you to just think about objects only. Don't think about data types. We know that objects are data types, but let's understand the object itself, right? So we already saw this one. We all know objects allow you to group related data into one variable. And that is the power of JavaScript, because we can solve industrial problems that way. So this is a simple, something called object literal. Object literal. Literal means that it's more like you know, the syntax of object, right? The way it works. Okay, so creating objects. If you want to create objects, we want to understand that there are multiple ways of doing it. And this is the place where we need to understand those ways. This is one way. We just did this one. So this is the basic way of creating objects. So, you know, just create it like a variable, like that. Okay. So what is the other way, the other ways of creating objects? There is something called constructor functions. Constructor functions. We all know what functions do. They take parameters and then they do something for you, right? They do something for you. So this constructor function is very, very powerful in JavaScript. Maybe I wish we did functions before doing this, but it's okay. We're going to meet this again. And so you can see this is a function and it has a name, person, and it's taking parameters, first name, last name, age. And then what is it doing? It's doing this dot first name equals that. This dot last name equals that. So let me show this. Like, let me show this here. But this is very, very important. Can you guys see how we have person 1 and then person 2? I think I deleted person 2. Let's just create. See, you just here you are creating one person and you're giving all this information. You are creating another object of another person. So you say person 2. You give different names, Paul, like that. So if you want to create, say, 10 people, are you going to repeat yourself 10 times here? Right? That's just too much work. And also, to make things very easy, let me take out some of the things here. I'm taking some of the properties. It's okay to think of these as properties so that our job will be very straightforward. So person 1 has this, person 2, these 3 information, just this 2, person 3, let's just have another one. Person 3. So this is not it's not optimized. This is very it's not a right way to do it. This is definitely not the matured way of doing it, because we are repeating ourselves. So to avoid repeating ourselves, there is something called the constructor function. And once again, let me just type it so that constructor function, we all know what a function is. The function allows you to do one thing over and over again. As long as you call the function, then it's going to do the same thing over and over again. Just keep, once you call it, it will do it. So let's just create a function here and call it person. A function that is going to create a person for us. So what do we need to create a person in this case? We need the name, we need the age, we need the student. So just say name, age is student. So these are the parameters of the function. Now your block. The block is gonna give us what the function is going to do. So here, there is this keyword called this. This is the first time we are meeting this. And this is very powerful. This means that person, whatever person is, set the name attribute to, so you say this dot name. It means whatever the person is. Let's say the person is Afanawe. If you say this dot name, you are saying Afanawe's name should be this. So what should the name be? The name should be whatever value that you give to the function. Whatever parameter that you pass to the function here. So now what about the age? This, if I want to say whatever this person is, let his name be this. So you say this dot age, let its age, sorry. So what should the age be? The age is gonna be whatever value you pass to this function as the age. And then the last one, this dot is student. If you want to know whether this person is student, what should it be? Whatever value that you pass over here, let that value be it. So just by doing this, we have a function, we have a constructor function, and it looks like they are using, what do you call it? Semicolon over here. So this is what we call constructor function, and it's a function that allows you to create things. So just give me the things I need, and I'm gonna create something for you. I'm gonna create a person for you in this case. And we're gonna be using this a lot later on with many, and if you look at JavaScript code, a lot of in many industries, this function is used all the time. So I did put this over here. And the function can get very big, because, so now if you want to create a person, all you have to do is just call the function. How do you call the function? Just give it a name. Just give it a name, say person1. Now, if you want to call this function, if you want to create an object, you need this new keyword. The new keyword is what allows you to create an object. If you don't have the new over there, then you are not using the constructor function. You are just calling a regular function. So actually this new here is telling the computer, create an object for me. And the object that you are creating should resemble the person function. It's a person, and the name, what is the name of the person? Just pass the parameters. What is the age? Pass the age. So in this case, the age should be in the second position. So I have something to say there too. So 1 second. So see, this person function wants you to give it the name, age, and then a student. So a student, you're gonna give a boolean here. If you do this, you have created one person. And you are saying that the name of the person should be John, age should be 30, and is the person student, you're saying sure. So this one here is kind of similar to writing the whole of this. But what if you want to create another person? Let's say constant person2. So these names are already there. So let me just double them up. So you just have to do the same thing. Just say new person. You're just using the function. And then give me the person's name. Say Becky. Give me his age, 44. And then is the person student? False. So once you do this, it's also going to create another object for you. So the question is this. Doing it this way, you are not really repeating yourself at all. When you do it this way, it's a better code to write, And of course, because this one only has a few keys in there, if it was a bigger function, then you would appreciate the importance of doing it this way. Because sometimes you just have to give a few data here, and then everything else, you're doing some calculations using this number. Is the person, has the person go, We'll see more functions. So I guess the point I want to demonstrate is that this is the constructor function, and this is the way you do it, and it allows you to create objects on the fly like that. You just call the function and then pass the parameters, and it will create the object for you. And of course, this is an object. If I want to read the age of John, well, the age of person 1, person 11. How am I going to do it? I just want to read it. Or say access it is better. So person 11, I want to read the age the same way that you would do at the top. Just say dot age. And this will give you the age. Of course, if I print it, we're going to see that also. Is this thing confusing? This way of creating objects, like, I mean, this is the industry we're doing it, and because you don't want to repeat yourself. That's why. So all this, saying that name and that age and that, keeping on every time you want to create an object, instead of just saying that again and again, you put that in a function, and then just call the function by name, and then it will automatically do this for you. Just one time. Any questions?
Oh, I don't get why you've already called name for function 35. Yeah. So I don't know why you've already called name, right? But then by saying dot name and then you put name again, or is it supposed to be the actual name, Paul?
Yes, it's supposed to be the name you pass here. This is the key, and this is the actual name, this one.
Okay.
Yes. And because these are parameters, you can do anything. You can just say, you can write anything. You can say, you can even use XY. You can use XYZ. It's just a parameter. It's a placeholder. Parameters are placeholders. You can just use X and Y, XYZ. And then now you are just saying whatever the first thing they give me is, make that my age, my name. Whatever they put in the middle, make that my age. Whatever they put at the end, make that whether I'm a student or not. Yes, but these ones are the property, the keys. These are important. These are these ones here. But they don't change. They're always going to be the same. The ones that changes are this one. You see it? Yeah, and of course you can do anything. You can even say name of, you can say name of person. I mean, this is a better code. Name of person makes more sense. Then you can say age of person, so that anybody who sees the code can instantly understand the parameters. You can say is person a student? So you can say it's a student, it's fine. It's her. Sorry. Student, then you can just assign it, you know. So I'm doing this so we write code that makes sense, right? But you can also write code that doesn't make sense. You know, so in good industries, if you write code that doesn't make sense, they will tell you to change it. Somebody from above will call you and say, change it. Why are you using X, Y, Z? What is X? What is Y? What is Z? If you do this, then everybody knows what they are. You know what I mean? Okay. So now we are just looking at ways of creating classes, right? There's another way of doing it, and that is the concept of classes. Classes in JavaScript. You can just use a class. I don't know, is this the first time you guys are hearing about class? Okay, don't worry, because we're going to learn about classes too later on. So I know after you've heard about classes in the C#. So you can use a class also to create an object. So you just have to use the keyword class over here. And I'm going to show you the differences depending on the way you do it. So the point is that objects, that is what you really solve problems in the industry. So we just want to understand different ways of creating them, okay? So one of the ways is just you doing it as a class. So you're saying the class of a person. So in every class, there is something called a constructor of a class. So constructors are also the same as functions, but the constructor is very, very important. This is how you create an object out of the class. But Tina, do you know what a class is?
No.
Yeah, so the thing about classes is a whole lesson on its own, like the meaning of a class. So classes, you can think of them as a blueprint. Blueprint is like what is something supposed to look like? Like if you consider a human being, what is a human being supposed to look like? You say, oh, they have to have a name, they need to have age, they need to have a country where they live, an address. You see what every human being has these things. So whatever they have, you call that a class, and then you put all of that in the class. Like properties, put everything that a human being should have. Not everything, because then the list will become very long, but the part that you are interested in or the work that you're doing, put all of that here. So the class is called a prototype. You can call it prototype. You can also call it blueprint. So now, if you want to create a person, you come into the class and say, give me a person out of the class. So the class itself doesn't do anything. It's just giving you the way a person should look like. So in this case, we are saying that a person should have a first name, last name, and age. So this is the blueprint over here. If I want to create a person, then that is what we call the object. The act of creating a person is you're creating an object. So the object is the real person, but the class itself is imaginary. It's just like the way the person should look like. Does that make sense? So now, if you want a human being out of the class, then you just say, you create a variable. Now we are using the const also. You can use let, as you know, const, say my person equals. Now you're going to the class the same way that we do with the constructor function. You say new person. In other words, you're creating a new human being out of the class. So the same way, now give the first name. The first name should be a string, right? So say John. What is the last name supposed to be? Say John Leslie. And then what should be the age? Then the age is a number, says 40. So now this gives you a person, an object called a person. All you had to do was to pass these parameters over there. So Tina, classes are very, very important in programming. And if you look at industry code, everything is a class most of the time. But classes make your life very, very easy. You just tell us what things are going to look like, and then you just create it, you know. But we're gonna consider classes. I think there is a whole section dedicated to it. So let's not worry too much. But you can see that we are using it the same way that we use the constructor function. Yeah. Even the way we create the object is the same way. It's a constructor function. But when it is the class is this way, you don't see the benefit. But we're gonna add a lot of methods over here. So classes, they can have functions in them that do a lot of things. Don't worry, we're gonna see them, okay? So this is another way of creating an object. Just know that it's there, and then once we start, you know, looking at industry code, then you see it, and then you will not be very scared, because after all, they are just creating an object at the end of the day, right? So it is important for me to explain what happens in the memory of the computer if you create an object. So in the memory of the computer, this is what happens. So first of all, if you just create one variable, say my variable equals 90, the computer just will allocate one space like this, a block of space in memory, and put the 90 over there. And then the space always has a name. The name will be here. So the name, my variable will be here. And then the space is there and it's gonna store 90 over there. But if you create objects, because objects are made up of collections of things, it's not just one variable, one value, but multiple values. It's going to create a continuous location. It's going to create, if the computer is going to use one block to store one variable, it's going to create, say, 4 blocks if there are 4 properties in the object. So depending on the number of properties in the object, it's going to create that much space in memory. And then, like in the case of this example here, first name, last name, age, and a student, the first name is here, and then it will put a student over there like this. So this is the key value, key value, key value, key value. So, and the whole thing is called the person object. So if you say person dot last name, then the computer knows to give you the door. Person that is student, then it will come here. So I just had to show you this. This is how the computer stores the data in memory. You know, when you're writing code, maybe in interviews, they may ask this question, you know, but when you're writing the code, it doesn't matter whether you know this or not. And so see, the way of creating an object, we just looked at 3 ways of doing it. And that is all there is, 1, 2, and 3. So which means that it's very, very good. Because a lot of the things we're going to do, we're going to use objects, and we know all the ways of creating an object. So it's a good thing. Now, what about accessing and modifying object properties? We already did that, right? The property, how do you access the properties? And how do you even change it, right? We did see that before. So like over here, person object, they are just saying person object dot first name, and it's gonna print John. Person dot last name. So we went through this, right? Is this okay? Do you guys understand this part?
Yeah.
Okay, so another important thing to mention is if you want to, you don't always have to use the dot. You can also use this way. You can access it this way. And I know we are gonna close soon. We are closing. We are just about. Oh man, so can we just finish this object and close? Tina, are you normally busy at 1:30? Oh, 1:15?
Are you going up to them?
I'm sorry?
You going up to them?
Yeah, I'm talking about when you prepare for church. That's at 1:15, right? Yes, I want to quickly finish this object and then we are done for the day. So all I'm saying is that if you want to access the properties of an object, it's not, you don't always have to use the dot. You can also use this notation, you know, open parentheses and then give the name of the key, the property that you want, and it's gonna print it. So remember, this is out there. You can always practice it also, right? And then what if you want to modify? So person.age equals 31. Right now, person.age is 30. You are setting that to 31. This is the way you do it. We went through that also. And you can do it this way too. Like I just said, there are 2 ways of, you know, assessing the properties. Once you assess the property, you can always change it. So you can have a simple note over there. So adding and deleting properties. So right now, look at the person object. It has first name, last name, age, and this. What if you want to add more properties over here? You can do it by just saying person.nationality equals America. Although you don't have the nationality there, as soon as you say person.nationality equals America, it means that you are creating a new property that is going to be added here automatically. Do you guys want me to demonstrate that or no? It's easy to demonstrate it. Let me just demonstrate it. So here, let's just say console.log. How will I demonstrate this, right? I want to print the person 3. Person 3 over here. I want to print it. Now, let me add another property here. I'm saying person 3 dot nationality or country, anything, or country. Let me use small letters. Country equals USA. You can see there is no country here, right? Now I'm adding country. Now let me print person 3 again to see if country is going to be added to it, okay? So this is how you demonstrate things, right? You just find a smart way to prove that what you're doing is correct, you know? I mean, just so there's an unexpected identifier at line 76. What do they mean by that? Well, there are some errors in the code. Oh, okay, this one. Let's remove this for now. If there are errors in the code, it's not going to run. Okay, so what have we done here? The first time I'm just printing object, I should see only these 3 things: name, age, and student. You can also do it this way so that it's easy. Name, oh my God, really? So the country has already been added. I wanted to see this without a country first and then see it with the country, but the country has been added. That's fine. But let me see, why is JavaScript behaving like that? Oh, okay. So even this one also has the country. Oh my goodness. So this is very, very interesting. Okay. I know why that happened, and I'm going to explain that later on. So let's just refresh the screen now. See, person doesn't have a country. Now let me add a country to it and then print it again. And let's see. Now it has a country. Oh yeah. So if you look at the first one here, the first one doesn't have country. It's the second one that has the country. Yeah. But as soon as you click in here, then this will also have a country too. So, and I know why that is happening. We'll talk about that later on. I mean, it's just information, right? But you don't really care about it when you are writing code. But if you know them, it's fine. It makes you a better developer because you know what you're doing, you know. So we talked about this one. This is done. Now methods. That we are almost at the end of things. Yeah. So you can see what is a method? Method and functions are the same. If you create a function by itself, we call it a function. But if you add a function to an object, then we call it a method. That's all. Look at this function. It is adding 2 numbers. This function is subtracting 2 numbers, right? If you add it to an object like this, then we call it a method. And if you want to add it to an object, of course, you have to give it a key. So this key, what is the value? The value is this whole function. So I already said that functions, they're going to become numbers eventually. So whatever this function evaluate to is going to be assigned to that. So let's demonstrate this one using the person. This is very nice example. And then we're almost there, almost at the end. I'm also very mindful that we would leave before 1:15. So let me remove all of this because you already saw them. Let me do this, and I'm gonna try to just indent the code a little bit more. So what are we doing? Create an object, add all these properties, right? But not only that, you see, we were just adding properties. Now we are adding methods. Guys, this is the complete picture of an object. So objects don't only have properties, they can also have a function inside it. And now you are seeing how that works. So this is a person, you know the name and all of that. But what if you want to get a full name of the person? You can just write a function to return the full name. And the full name is what? First name plus last name. So this is how you do it. This dot first name. You can put plus over here, but they just put a space there and then the last name. So it's gonna print whatever the first name is and then print whatever the last name is. Yeah. What about greeting? What if the person wants to greet somebody? So you can say person.greet, you call the greet method, then it's gonna greet something. But how is the greeting going to be? It's gonna say, hello, my name is this. And we are also being smart. We are checking if the person is a student, he can say, oh, hello, my name is, he wants to mention his full name. So it's gonna call this function, and this function will give the full name, and I am a student. How do we know that the person is a student? Because we are checking if this is student value is true. If it is true, then we know the person is a student. If it's not true, then we can say, hello, my name is this, and I am not a student. And I am not a student. You can do that. You can whatever you want. But if you say person.greet, this code is going to fire, and then whatever you put here is going to happen. It's a function. And then you want to celebrate birthday. If you say person.celebrate birthday, that means you want to increase their age. Whatever the age is, increase it by 1, and then say, happy birthday. Now I am this years old. See, coding, you can do whatever you want to do, right? And like I said, we are just solving industry problems, or we are just solving problems. So this object is representing a human being, and the person, you just give it this much information. And if you want his full name, you just say person.get full name. So let's demonstrate. So now, see, this is the object literal. This is the literal way of creating an object. So you don't need to say new person anymore, because it's not a function and it's not a class. This is the object itself. So that's why if you want to have multiple copies of this object, you have to copy the whole thing and paste it again. Yeah, I'll show that too. It's crucial. If you want to have multiple objects, you just have to copy the whole thing and say person 2, and then change the name to Leslie. And then we can leave the last name and then say 36. And then you want to create another object, you have to copy the whole thing. Can you see that this is a big object, and you cannot just copy and paste like that? That's why the best way to do this is to create a function and then use the function to create the objects. Very easy. We're gonna probably look at this again next week, but now let me just say console.log person dot, I want to know the name of the person first. And let's see the age of the person. It's gonna print it, right? Okay, now what about if I want to get the full name of the person? I just have to say person dot get full name. We may have to do this because it's a function, so we can just, let's do this and see if it works. Now we can say console dot person dot celebrate birthday. If this person is gonna celebrate birthday, the age is gonna increase by 1. So let's say person dot celebrate birthday. So what these functions are doing, is it difficult for you guys to understand? I think that this things is what you haven't seen before. The $ and the backticks. It's just a way of, concatenating strings and all. We're gonna discuss that later on in our next meeting. So let's just do this for now. And then let me also print the age again. Let's print the age again, because if you celebrate birthday, it's gonna increase the age. So here, whatever it is, you're gonna get 30, and then here you're gonna get 31. What about greet? Let's greet also. Let's greet something. You know, I see the time is pretty, it's not on our side at all. Okay, so let's see. Let's view this in the console. Okay. You can see the person.age is given as 30 because this object has age of what? 30. Now get full name. See, John Doe. It's joining the John and the Doe together. That's a full name. Now what about greet somebody? He's saying, hello, I am John Doe and I am not a student. It's not a student because this is false, right? If we made it true, then it's gonna say I am a student. And then what about celebrate birthday? We are saying increase the age and then say happy birthday. I'm now 31 years old. You see, it did that. Now, and I'm also printing the age. So you can see a lot of things are happening in this code. So I think that next week we'll look at the object again and make sure that we understand what is happening. Even the fact that I'm saying this.age and I'm not, yeah, I have to use the age property. So I think I need to say more things here because you can see how the object is beginning to look very, very powerful and it's beginning to do complicated things that resemble what human beings do. And I think I need to speak a little bit more on how to do this because many of the problems or many of the code you see out there is going to look like this. Okay, it's going to look like this. So I think that it's not fair to speak through this. So I will just stop over here. And next 2 weeks, when we come back, we would pick up from there. And I'm also anticipating that next 2 weeks, we would be able to, so we are here now, we're gonna be able to finish arrays, multi-dimensional arrays, function. We already know scopes and functions, but we'll look at them again and just finish this. And then we are not far away from creating, you know, HTML objects and all of that, just doing complicated projects. Of course, conditionals is just if statements and all this important stuff. We'll look at that too, but I'm hoping the next 2 weeks we're gonna finish all of this. Okay. So I'm not actually hoping, I believe we can finish it. Yeah, but once we have objects out of the way, arrays are the same as objects, it's just a different form. And then functions, I think we're gonna finish this next 2 weeks, the whole of this. So within some few weeks, we will be done with JavaScript for sure. Okay, so do you guys have any questions for me?
No.
No.
Thank you so much for coming, and I will make the video available in case you need to recap things. But more than anything, just try to read what is here on the site. I think you're gonna understand it very well if you read it. So I wrote the tutorial, so I think everything that I should mention, I have written down. And I made sure I don't write too much garbage, you know? So if you get a minute, just go through it. I think it will help a lot. Thank you all and enjoy the rest of the day.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thanks a lot, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.